And thanks for staying with Bernama TV. Here are this hour's top stories. Israel's decided not to appear in hearings at the ICC, or the International Court of Justice, for advisory opinion on the country's obligations to facilitate aid into Gaza. Also, Russian President Vladimir Putin has announced a 3-day truce starting midnight Monday on May the 8th, calling for Ukraine to join in the truce. And in today's Point of View segment, Kevin Teo of Qube Integrated Malaysia Sdn Bhd, as well as show director of SEACare, joins me in the studio. We'll talk about SEACare 2025, an event aimed to catalyze the healthcare innovation and collaboration within Southeast Asia. I'm JESSY CHAHAL. You're watching The World on Bernama TV. We begin Bernama World with this. Israeli forces launched an airstrike on Beirut's southern suburbs Sunday night, flattening a building and damaging nearby homes and shops. It is the third strike in the area since last November's ceasefire with Hezbollah. Israel says it hit a Hezbollah site storing precision missiles, calling it a serious threat. Lebanon's president condemned the attack, urging the US and France to attack. No casualties have been reported so far. Now, as the conflict continues to escalate in Yemen, alarming developments have once again drawn international condemnation. Here's what the UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric had to say.
We are deeply alarmed by reports of an airstrike hitting a detention center holding migrants in the Sada governorate, and that took place reportedly overnight. And we're saddened by the tragic loss of life, where many of these migrants are believed to have been killed and injured. According to preliminary information, 68 migrants were killed and another 48 injured. These numbers could increase as search and rescue efforts continue, which are being led by frontline responders. While our colleagues at the International Organization for Migration has not been operating at this particular facility, they remain committed to closely monitoring the situation, stand ready to afford support if needed. Furthermore, our humanitarian colleagues say that there are reports that hospitals in the area are being overwhelmed due to their limited capacity. 2 nearby hospitals have already received more than 50 injured people, many of them critically wounded. These strikes pose a growing risk to the civilian population in Yemen. We've also received reports of 8 people killed and another 6 injured, including women and children, in Bani al-Harith district in Sana'a governorate on Sunday. We continue to call on parties to uphold their obligations under international humanitarian law, including the protection of civilians.
Israel declined to appear before the ICJ, or the International Court of Justice, where judges are considering whether its blockade of aid into Gaza breaches international law. The Israeli government submitted a written statement dismissing the proceedings as politically motivated. Since early March, all supplies to Gaza's 2.3 million residents have been halted. Humanitarian agencies warn of severe shortages, while the UK, Germany and France have called on Israel to allow unrestricted aid access. And in another regional tension involving Pakistan and India, Pakistan's Defence Minister Khwaja Mohammad Asif has warned that a military incursion by India is imminent following the deadly militant attack in Kashmir. He denied Pakistan's involvement, called for a neutral investigation and condemned actions within the region. Pakistan has reinforced its military and is prepared to defend itself. He emphasized that nuclear weapons would only be used if there were a direct threat to Pakistan's existence, urging restraint from both sides.
There is a likelihood that India will attempt an incursion in Pakistan and will engage Pakistan militarily. That is a possibility, a very clear and stark possibility. Cannot be ruled out. We are absolutely ready, at high alert. If there is a violation of our airspace, or there is violation on the ground, if we are engaged in any way on the seas, we are prepared to respond, and inshallah we'll give a befitting response to India.
Meantime, Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan urged a bilateral meeting with Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, emphasized Turkey's support for Pakistan and called for immediate de-escalation between Pakistan and India. Well, turning now to Ukraine, Russia and the war development, Russian President Vladimir Putin has announced a 3-day ceasefire beginning midnight on May 8th ahead of the country's Victory Day celebrations. The Kremlin says it wants Ukraine to join the ceasefire, warning that Russian forces will respond if it is broken. Moscow also repeated its offer to hold peace talks with no preconditions. Ukraine's foreign minister replied, saying if Russia truly wants peace, it should stop firing now, not days later. Concurrently, the German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier has pledged stronger support for NATO, vowing to boost Germany's military and infrastructure as a backbone of Europe's conventional defense. Speaking at NATO's anniversary in Brussels, he emphasized continued backing for Ukraine and has urged Germans to embrace a more assertive defense role.
Recently, the German parliament changed the constitution to massively increase its defense spending. This is remarkable. Another clear demonstration of German leadership. There was a time when NATO wanted to keep the Germans down, as NATO's first Secretary General famously said. Not anymore. The Germans are up. And this is exactly what we need in the face of greater danger.
Today, with Putin's war against Ukraine raging on in full force and with the United States putting fierce pressure on its European allies, Germany, I think, is in a crucial position. That's why I speak to you, your allies, not just with gratitude, but with urgency. Germany is being called on, and we heard the call, we got the message, and indeed, Mark, you can count on us.
Well, Germany's major increase in defense spending reflects shifting geopolitical realities and doubts over U.S. reliability, highlighting the need for a strong, united transatlantic alliance. And at the BRICS foreign ministers' meeting in Rio, Brazil called for a diplomatic solution to the Ukraine crisis and emphasized the bloc's role in promoting global cooperation, not confrontation. The expanded group addressed U.S. trade measures, particularly heavy tariffs on China, and is expected to issue a joint statement opposing unilateral trade actions. Climate finance for developing nations was also on the agenda ahead of Brazil's upcoming UN Climate Summit. And in other news, Germany's incoming Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, has stated that he will advocate for zero tariffs between the US and Europe. Speaking to his fellow conservatives, he emphasized that it is time for both sides to eliminate customs duties altogether. Merz also called for mutual recognition of tax standards between the US and Europe, arguing that it would reduce red tape and accelerate market access. He plans to present both proposals directly to the US President Donald Trump. Well, China is downplaying the impact on the U.S. trade war, saying it can protect jobs and keep its economy steady, despite steep tariffs on its exports. Top officials promised support for businesses, help for those who are unemployed, as well as looser lending rules to keep growth on track. They say China can hit its 5% growth target this year, even without U.S. grain or energy imports, and that the country's policy tools are strong enough to respond.
严重违背历史潮流和经济规律，严重冲击国际贸易规则和秩序，严重损害世界各国的正当合法权益。这属于典型的单边主义霸凌做法。
Well, it's time for a quick break, and when I come back, I speak with Kevin Teo, General Manager of Qube Integrated Malaysia, Sindren Berhad, as well as Show Director of SEACare. We'll talk about SEACare 2025, which took place last week. It's an event that was aimed to catalyse the healthcare innovation and collaboration in Southeast Asia. This is The World on Bernama TV. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Today we explore one of Southeast Asia's most dynamic healthcare and pharmaceutical platforms, SEACare. As the region's healthcare needs to evolve, SEACare has become a vital meeting point for innovators, industry leaders and policymakers driving progress across borders. From strategic partnerships to breakthrough technologies, SEACare 2025 showcased how collaboration and innovation are shaping the future of healthcare within the region. Well, joining me today to discuss these milestones, emerging opportunities and the exciting road ahead is Kevin Teo, General Manager of Qube Integrated Malaysia, Sindren Berhad. He's also the Show Director of SEACare. Welcome, Kevin. It's good to have you here. SEACare just finished a couple of days ago, and of course it was an exciting 3-day event. Walk us through what were some of those highlights.
Well, thank you so much, Jessie, for having me here. So one of some stand-up highlights is that it's the biggest edition ever. It has been our 25th anniversary for SEACare itself. We have more than 130 companies exhibiting. We have more than 250 booths occupied itself in 2 halls of MITEC itself. And of course, for SEACare this year, we have launched its first ever paid conference in partnership with the National Cancer Society of Malaysia. So in a way, the 3 days itself has showcased a lot of highlights in terms of conferencing, in terms of business matching arena, in terms of industry sharings and stuff. So it is very exciting that we have just concluded it, and now we're doing our post-shows and stuff, and we can't wait to actually share more to the public out there. Yes.
Definitely exciting for the entire industry itself. But what would you say were some of the real achievements out of SEACare 2025?
Right. So some of it is that for this year itself, when we actually do partnerships, when we cross-collaborate, being a fully owned Malaysian show itself that we actually brought to the world, we actually managed to do a lot of partnerships with our government sector, which is aligned with a lot of PPP initiatives that initiated by the government. So this year, we have seen an increase in terms of support from the government sector, such as SIRIM, Matrix as usual, with the NSB program, of KPKM as well from the Ministry of Food Security and Agriculture, supporting local industry players, and of course, MICEP. We have also partnerships with embassies such as Jethro and DITP. So some of the notable highlights that happens during the show is that the launch of the Zafa VC Fund, which is by a venture capitalist firm, where they have this MedExcel Accelerator program that actually supports our local SMEs in Malaysia of fundings of their business of up to $250,000 ringgit. So this is actually witnessed by the Minister himself, Dr. Zul. So in a way, these are some of the highlights that actually happen in SEACare, and also we have seen a lot of MOUs exchanged, such as one of it is actually the Cancer Symposium series that is actually signed between Prince Court Medical Centre, Alliance Bank, and of course the National Cancer Society of Malaysia to have a series of symposiums that's focusing on cancer care and of course financing as well, involving different stakeholders. And one of the key highlights, which is also something that we are bringing for 2026, is that SEACare officially we have signed an MOU together with the Malaysian Dental Association, introducing a new component next year for 2026 for introducing dentists into this market, truly transforming what we will say a good summit in terms of the healthcare region in Malaysia. So these are some of the biggest highlights, but of course we have many more. We have a lot of business matching that involves a lot of international players. Like we, on the spot itself, a Myanmar trading company actually signed with a local Malaysian stem cell company to exchange in terms of business matching. So we're looking into it. Yeah.
Right. So many points
things
have been checked off and achievements have been checked off that list. SEACare 2025, basically another year to provide a platform for the healthcare sector to come in and to exchange whether it's expertise or even services from that particular point of view. It's also an era where MSMEs and SMEs are in that game. And it was so apt with the theme this year, strategic partnerships in healthcare innovation. How did that, Kevin, influence the event's focus and its outcomes?
So I think this modern day itself, right, when we actually talk about strategic partnerships, right, I think all of us know in the business sector, regardless of what, collaboration is much needed in different parties. I mean, one party just can't do all. So when we actually come up with this theme itself, the reason why when we came out of this is that we understand that we need to actually partner with different types of agency to provide different expertise so that industry itself can move forward, even progress, have new ideas and exchange. So for example, like when we actually bring in Cerium this year, they are talking about quality, they're talking about certification. So in terms of many businesses itself, right, people often neglect the part that why quality is important. So when we actually bring in an agency from Malaysia, when you want to do business from an international level, you will understand that having this certification process itself is your gateway to distribute into the market itself, not just in Malaysia but in Asia.
Absolutely. I think that's such an important word and descriptive word as well, a gateway, and providing that bridge for services within, not just internationally, but particularly with the focus in Southeast Asia. And based on that, in what ways, Kevin, did SEACare 2025 really help to address the growing demand for care and services within Southeast Asia? We also know many of these countries have actually a sort of a growing older generation.
Geriatric healthcare, I would say. So SEACare actually provides a platform not just for industry to showcase their technology, but when we say showcasing items, business, showcasing medical devices, it's not just catered to a specific group, but when you talked about geriatric healthcare, because I think studies have shown that Southeast Asia itself, the elderly age, it's catching up. So people needs a lot of services and even ideas on how to take care of the old. What is the services out there like and all these things. So we actually provide a platform itself where industry players can actually come to exchange ideas. So one of the key things that on an international level, we have brought in an organizer from Taiwan. So from Taipei itself, they actually organizes Care Expo. It is an expo that focuses on geriatric healthcare, focuses on technology that is involved in the elderly care itself. So we brought in them over. They're actually our strategic partner and media partner as well. So to exchange the ideas of how they actually take care of that sector in the particular region. At the same time, we have brought in KKM from our Malaysian site to actually talk about how we actually do it in the Asia region and Southeast Asia region itself. So from here, I would say SEACare provides the platform for people to exchange ideas in the hope that how do we optimize optimal care for everyone, and particularly this segment of the group, seeing that it's a growing demand itself.
That's right. So while we work at looking at how we can make these bridges closer and bring services to more people, affordability is also something that is definitely at the front of mind there. What other points that came out of SEACare that really help emerge and put in forefront how these cross-border areas can be enhanced further?
So for SEACare itself, I would say just now you mentioned a point about financing and stuff. So our 3 days conference itself, every day itself focuses on different themes that addresses to the issues that not just in Malaysia but the border itself. So for example, we have a whole day symposium talking about health financing, digital health transformation on the second day itself. So in terms of health financing, we have industry players that come from venture capitalists to share ideas on how good financing models are there to actually support the industry so that they can lower down the costs and how they can actually give back more to the public. We have also, I would say, when you talk about cross-border, everyone's talking about digital health right now.
That's right.
So digital health in the sense that everyone talks about it, but what is it about? So we have a whole day talking about digital transformation. We actually have Dr. Izuna from Matas itself, from MOH, to talk about Malaysia's initiatives on digital health transformation, on how we are trying to strive as one of the leaders in Southeast Asia, sharing our ideas and knowledge as well. So we also invite speakers from Singapore. Amazon Singapore actually came over to talk about cloud servicing. How Amazon, because when we know about Amazon, we talk about cloud, we talk about shopping, but who didn't know that? A lot of people didn't know that they actually do support in terms of storage of data. As we understand, AI data is now you need a huge cloud storage. So Amazon is there to talk about how their cloud system actually jive together with the digital digitalization of healthcare and how precision in terms of digitalization can actually benefit the patient more for the future. So this is what our conferences like, and of course the exhibition, they will showcase the items itself, but the conference is the one where knowledge actually exchange and sharing.
With all that in the basket, so to say, and also that's ongoing, looking ahead, what are your aspirations for SEACare's future in terms of its role to shape Southeast Asia's healthcare landscape?
So as a show director of SEACare, of course, definitely I would love to actually see SEACare being a platform where in the future itself, where people actually look into Malaysia and see that, which if you want to talk about technology, talk about knowledge exchange, a platform for them to actually exchange ideas. So for 2026, actually we're going bigger. We actually form strategic partnerships with the Dental Association, with the wellness sector itself, and medical devices. We're going to launch a summit, which is also witnessed by Dr. Zub, Minister of Health himself. So my aspiration is that to support not just the Malaysia economy and the Malaysia SMEs, because to position Malaysia as the #1 sourcing hub when it comes to healthcare, medical technology, pharmaceutical, when people look into healthcare in Southeast Asia, choose Malaysia first. Being that, not fully Malaysian itself, I feel that we have a lot of talent, but most of the time we're too humble to actually share it to the world. So I feel that I hope in the future that when people look into healthcare in the first quarter of the year, they will come to Malaysia. Choose Southeast Asia itself, you choose Malaysia. That's where industry knowledge, people will share.
That's right. Choose Malaysia as a hub and hopefully also like a one-stop center. What would you say is your sort of forecast perhaps in the next maybe 3 months or 6 months? What do you really hope to see?
So, of course, I would hope that people start inquiring more about what is the show about, of course. But for me, for the next 3 months, I will be focusing more on building content, and I hope that we can get in touch with more professionals across the region itself, not just in Malaysia, but of course the ASEAN region. That how we can share more ideas in truly having SEACare to be a platform where industry leaders come over, not just doing business, but to exchange ideas, that they would like to use our platform. Hopefully that in the next 3 months we have more players coming along, and I'm going to reach out to WHO. What is the trend out there? What is the financing models about? What is the healthcare future about? So this next 3 months.
So many important points there. Thank you, Kevin, for coming in and really sharing some of the achievements and the standout sort of points from SEACare 2025. It's fresh out of the oven, so to say, with many things still happening underway. Well, that's a wrap for this hour's broadcast. Don't forget to visit Bernama.com and follow us on our social media channels, YouTube, X, Instagram and Facebook for the latest news. You could also get updates from Bernama Radio 93.9 FM. This has been The World on Bernama TV. Kevin Teo, Jessie CHAHAL signing off. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.